More now on a Channel 4 News investigation, an exclusive we first told you about a few months ago concerning some strange clouds in the skies over Southern California. Some say they are simply jet contrails, but others claim it's the government creating chemical clouds to combat global warming. And tonight, one woman says the government's own data shows the chemicals are showing up in our drinking water. We've taken a look for ourselves, but questions remain. How does this make sense? Strange clouds over California. Some people, like those we met in Crestline, call them chemtrails, an alleged government program to combat global warming by creating clouds with chemicals. What I look up there and I think are contrails, you're telling me are chemtrails.
Yes.
The Air Force and NASA say we are simply seeing more jets and more contrails as a result, that there is no such thing as a chemtrail, and the actual contrails are a safe and natural phenomenon. But former FDA analyst Rosalind Peterson says the evidence on the ground only raises more questions about what's in the air. What makes you convinced it's showing up in the drinking water?
Every time they put a chemical in the air, then we're starting to see it in unusual spiking in California's drinking water supplies.
Peterson says she searched through public documents like these from NASA and the Air Force and found a long history of testing in the atmosphere with chemicals like barium and aluminum, said by the agencies to be used at safe levels. And then there is Professor Gregory Benford of NASA and UC Irvine, who told us in our last story about ideas for modifying the weather that he says aren't happening now, but will probably happen down the road.
You could use barium oxide, for example, which makes big fluffy clouds. You could use tiny little bits of aluminum, which is benign in the environment, and essentially manage the climate.
We're dealing with aluminum here. Is this unhelpful and alarming in your opinion?
Oh, yes.
But for Peterson, the future is now. She says she combed over drinking water data from the last 10 years, available from the State Department of Health. Her conclusion, those same chemicals, barium and aluminum and others, are showing up in water supplies across the state, spiking, sometimes above standards set by the Department of Health, and often around the same time as atmospheric test dates.
You're looking at barium spikes in LA County between 1986 and 1994.
This is an unhealthful level?
Yes.
In your opinion, an alarming level?
Yes.
And you believe this was caused by atmospheric testing?
Yeah.
Peterson has filed a complaint with the State Department of Health, which says it will have no comment until it has reviewed the case. But we did talk to Roy Wolf at the Metropolitan Water District in downtown Los Angeles, which supplies 50% of the drinking water in Southern California to 18 million people.
We wouldn't know if there was something that was being introduced from an airborne, other than the fact that if it was, it's not having an impact on our water supply.
Wolf says he can't speak for the Department of Health, but says that his district conducts thousands of tests every year and would eventually find barium and aluminum if they were spiking at high levels.
If there was a spike in between our sampling points, we may not see it on a monthly basis. Sooner or later, we would expect to see a spike if that were indeed occurring. We haven't really seen that. Even under the assumption that we wouldn't see it, treatment would remove it. So for us, it really is not a concern.
All of which is small comfort to Peterson, who says treatment can vary across the state. And if most testing is done on a monthly basis, she says there's no guarantee that anyone is catching the spikes in time to do anything, especially if no one is looking up.
By the time that they get a test that show that there's this unusual spiking, the water could be in your drinking water tap and go through. How can they protect us? Something airborne comes down. I don't understand how we're protected.
Now, the EPA tells us that high levels of aluminum and barium can affect the nervous system and cause high blood pressure. Again, we look forward to more analysis of that data from the Department of Health. And when we get it, we'll report back to you on their response.